Welcome back, guys. So I decided to make a Kontakt instrument out of one of my modular synth sessions featuring the Deckard's voice and the Atlantis from IntelliGel. So here it goes. So I love the modular synth workflow. The modular synth world, when you're patching and experimenting and when you're exploring, it's all about spontaneity. It's not about consequence. It's not about all the negative thoughts that are going through your head about, whether it sounds good or not. It's just getting in this zone of creativity. But sometimes you do want to catalog some of that because out of all the garbage, maybe there are a few gems that you create and you want to kind of capture that. So a lot of folks, I think they'll just have, a 2-track recorder or something. And if you want to go completely DAW-less, you're jamming away and you'll track it. And then later on, you sort of sift through it, which is really cool. But, that's still a lot of work to kind of listen through all of it. I think some people even maybe track it into a Ableton session and potentially load it into a simpler or some kind of sample-based instrument within Ableton or other kind of similar DAWs and create instruments out of those, which is awesome too. I wanted to take it a step further and build a Kontakt instrument because I think building a Kontakt instrument makes it a little more translatable, more universal. Like I could take this Kontakt instrument and stick it in not just Ableton, but in Logic or maybe even in Pro Tools. And it just makes it usable and portable and something that I could share and get feedback on too. So super fun. It was, however, a little bit harder than I thought. It's been a while since I built a Kontakt instrument, and so lots changed since then, which makes things easier. But also, just learning a new thing, and so it was a bit challenging. So yeah, this is the more tedious part of doing this sample library stuff is playing these single notes and then chopping them up. And there's a lot of nuance and skill involved in this process too. If you're doing multi-samples, like velocity samples and different kinds of performances, legatos, glissandos, whatever you want to call it, it can get quite involved. And so I'm not doing that here, but as long as I had a very specific goal in mind. I wasn't trying to make this a performance plugin. It was really more of an interactive snapshot of a particular kind of sound. So because my ambitions weren't like super high, I think it's fine. And so I think it's important to limit some of that because then it just, you just, again, could get lost in the depth of some of these tools, all these wonderful tools at your disposal. But I think you have to be the master of them and kind of tame them in the way you want it so that it doesn't get out of hand and out of control. And what'll end up happening is I think you just give up because you get overwhelmed and you just don't want to do it anymore. But I think if you could keep it fun, focused and narrow, you tend to want to practice it more and do that more often, at least for me anyway. And I think that's helped me to be more creative. And there are some boring parts of it, but the thing you get out of it in the long term is well worth it. So the one thing that I really loved and quite unexpected was how each of the notes were like just so different from one another. It wasn't homogeneous like normal synthesizers, and I loved the aspect of that because well, in many ways, those two synths can never be perfectly in tune. And also the oscillators are kind of doing their own things, and the filters and the harmonics are clashing and resolving. If you play the notes themselves, each of the notes is a little different. So here, again, normally you would try to kind of take that out of your sample playback, but for me specifically, because this instrument was about cataloging what was cool about that modular synth session, I just wanted to be able to capture those things. That it's not a mistake, but it's actually part of the thing that makes it interesting and have a lot of character. So I love that. I think same thing here in the lower register. Like every note is like a little weird. It oscillates and it's a little out of tune. So if you're playing all these, I'm sure there's ways to duplicate this effect in some way, but again, the purpose is not about the result, but the purpose, I think for me, specifically was the discovery. Like, hey, during that session, I expected all the notes to kind of sing the same, but when I was playing it back, they all had different weird clashing kinds of things, and it just made it very interesting. So I wanted to capture that. And so that was entirely unexpected. And that's what makes it cool. And that's why I wanted to kind of capture this moment so that I have it in this form called Deckard in the form of a Kontakt instrument. Building a custom Kontakt instrument out of your modular synth sessions could be one of the best ways to catalog your work. I found that even though Kontakt seemed intimidating at first, it was pretty simple if you are just interested in maybe taking a snapshot of your session and turning it into kind of like an interactive sample playback device. But also what's cool about Kontakt is you can build on that instrument as you have more additional sessions and flesh that instrument out. And of course, if you get into Kontakt 6 itself, with the creator tools and Lua scripting capabilities, you could really make that instrument something that's quite polished and very much your own. And so I think it's fantastic, and I'm going to be doing this more in the future and potentially add to this instrument as I go along. And one final thought is the fact that you could personalize it. I think I spent just as much time building my custom wallpaper and the instrument skin and picking out that font, Deckard, then I spent sampling and editing my session, which a little bit guilty there, but it was so fun. It was something that brought me joy, and again, it personalizes that instrument, and it's something that you could easily share and something that could be very portable. So I had great fun doing it.